Recently, I was perusing through YouTube and I found my old channel from 2005 that consisted of home movies me and my friends had made when we were younger. We lived in a small rural town and had nothing better to do, so we found the crappiest camera we could, and we learned to edit them on Windows Movie Maker as we were making them. There wasn't really all that much to do, and I remember one time we tried to live in a Walmart for 24 hours and thought it was the greatest idea in the world to film it. We sat down and played the one original song we'd written as a band, and sat down in the aisle playing it, attracting the attention of two females eventually. The manager eventually caught wind of what we were doing and he called the police on us. It was awesome. I binged through all the clips, being that I'm currently pretty much locked down or quarantined, and was filled with all sorts of weird emotions, both positive and negative. Joy, grief, pain, and most importantly, I was overcome with feelings of nostalgia. To quote Mad Men's fictional Don Draper, in Greek, nostalgia literally means the pain from an old wound. It's a twinge in your heart, far more powerful than memory alone. And I realized this isn't a YouTube video, it's a time machine. It goes backwards, forwards. It took me to a place where I ached to go again. It let me travel the way a child travels, round and round and back home again, to a place where you know you are loved. I got to thinking of how things are now compared to how they were back then. Sure, it was right around the time YouTube first started, and we did, as friends, communicate through cell phones in the form of texting, but it was a much simpler time, where the thought of staying indoors all the time glued to a screen was excruciating. If we wanted something to do, we'd figure it out as a group, and it often involved creativity in large groups of people doing something going somewhere. Sometimes it was common for us to start out walking around town in a group of 3, and by the end of the day there would be 10 of us. The other 7 had spontaneously decided to join us. Things weren't pre-planned or premeditated, they just seemed to happen naturally. Looking at the way modern day children are nowadays made me wonder, when was the last time I even saw a child, or a group of them out in public hanging out as a group breaking each other's balls. Cell phones and internet culture have seemed to consume every aspect of their waking lives, keeping the children indoors, therefore making the streets more empty and unsafe. It's currently October of 2020, and I constantly find myself wondering if public schools are ever going to return to the way they used to originally function. And when looking back at my old childhood clips, I suddenly have the crippling realization that it will never be this good again. I honestly believe I would have had more hope if the big metaphorical elephant of 2020 didn't enter the room and refuse not to leave. But I'm trying to be pragmatic or practical. Things will not go back to the way they were ever again. They've already conveniently discovered emissions are down 7% since this whole thing started, and I don't want to get this video taken down, but the Great Reset has a website now that basically admits that continuous lockdowns until climate change is fixed is what's gonna happen. That's the way I see things now. It's almost pointless to have optimism. My whole philosophy now is, gee, I hope they don't do what they're going to do. And hey, maybe it's a good thing, who am I to say, but the comfort and convenience of having everyone stay indoors and take Zoom classes and work primarily through applications like Skype will not be so easily reversed. The new childhood every kid is currently experiencing reminds me of that Black Mirror episode where the guy's entire room is nothing but screens. He's constantly skipping through ads, much like YouTube, and when he goes to work, he's in front of a screen again. Then he just goes home and starts the next day over. The symbolism bleeds through the writing of the episode, and it becomes not so symbolic once you realize most people's day isn't a screen on our wall. It's a screen we're voluntarily keeping in front of our face, be it a phone or a computer. This is the new normal. Nothing makes sense anymore. Everything feels weirdly staged and unreal, and there's absolutely no guidance from anyone. No one's coming out and saying, this is the plan for next month and we expect it to be fixed and we'll get back to work if we achieve a certain amount of cases or deaths. The world has just held up its metaphorical middle finger to all of us, and it's impossible to know what's even gonna happen next week. So I repeat, it will never be this good again. And I almost can't help but laugh at the fact that this is kind of what people like Bill Gates and the World Economic Forum's Klaus Schwab really want. They just kind of want to get their way, regardless of the detriment and suffering it will cause for the rest of the people whose lives suddenly got flipped upside down. I love how James Corden calls Bill Gates sir when he's on TV from his fucking bunker, being treated like a god who's come down to save us all.
How are you, sir? I can't tell you how thrilled I am to be able to talk to you.
Everyone's sitting at home being mindlessly told how it's going to be from now on. Mark Zuckerberg saying there's going to be civil unrest soon because all these people can magically see the future now. Elon Musk is going to put Neuralink in people's brains now. All these rich billionaires are on TV smirking about how easily they're getting their way. And during what's supposed to be the most important debate of the century, Joe Biden just stood there and laughed through the whole thing. I also love how in 2020, a presidential candidate can go on stage and say something as dark and ominous as, we're heading for a dark winter, whatever that means.
We're about to go into a dark winter. A dark winter.
And everybody's just like, fine. I actually forgot what I was talking about now. Oh yeah. Yeah, so children these days, I refuse to end this on a negative note. I will end this now on a positive note. What can we do? Well, first off, to keep people safe, we can wear a mask inside grocery stores and public settings. But when we leave the store, as you're walking out to your car, I don't know, just burn it. What's stopping you? That way we're following safety precautions, but letting everybody know we've had it up to here with this inadvertent fascism propagated onto us by the man upstairs. And next time you go into a store, wear the mask again. But when you get outside, burn it. It's the only way. And vaccines will be mandatory, but call your local news station, get on camera, and say the only way you'll take a mandatory vaccine is if it's in the form of a suppository, and say the only way you'll take it is if Bill Gates shoves it up your ass without a glove on. Make him not wear a glove. Tell him, hey man, not wearing a glove during this procedure, I'm making mandatory. Now I'm joking, of course. And I know this video started out being about one thing and quickly turned into something else, but let me end with this. People are in fear right now, and in my opinion, they kind of earned the right to be in fear. So much major change is happening and nobody knows what's going to happen next, but I'm also so exhausted from living in fear that I'm beginning to get tired of all the pessimism online. But I agree, it's completely warranted. We're in a situation where the people feel like they're being lied to, so therefore they become angry with the powers that be, which causes the powers that be to continue on with the lying, keeping everybody in the dark. Most of the comments I see online nowadays are filled with anger and distrust, and it kind of feels like we're giving the opposition more power by being so afraid, making us look weak and helpless. If only we could temporarily stop the ever-grinding gears of the mainstream media for a month and televise a huge conference where everyone in the world is required to watch, where we begin to weigh out the pros and the cons of our current situation and where we're headed, and talk with a little more honesty about what's happening, then people wouldn't be so cynical and afraid. If we keep heading in this direction, we're all going to look back and remember that 2021 was the year where major world changes happened, all under the guise of fear, lockdowns, and mistrust. Because no human being likes change. All the mainstream media is saying right now is, be afraid, don't trust us. You know what, forget what I was going to say next, just be afraid. So everything is now a gloom and doom self-fulfilling prophecy. All I'm saying is, maybe there's a better way. Thanks for watching.
I I got something to tell you, baby. Don't get mad this time. If you want my wiener, you give me ease all up in my mind. Baby, please want my wiener. Oh, want my wiener. Won't you just want my wiener? 'Cause he really don't feel right cold.